I have long said the most important thing to do at the onset of any discussion is to define the terms. I've tried to do that in my videos, but lately we've gone down a rabbit hole that causes us to pause and look at a few terms that keep getting mentioned. When discussing Bible translations, you'll often hear the following terms: Papyri, Parchment, Manuscript, Codex, Alexandrian, Byzantine Text, Majority Text, Textus Receptus, and Critical Text. We're going to look at those today. Even if you think you know what all of these mean, I really encourage you to watch. You may be surprised at what you learn. Papyri is a material prepared in Egypt from the papyrus plant and used as a writing surface. It's believed that papyrus has been used as far back as the 4th millennium BC. In ancient times, papyri were joined side by side and rolled into a scroll. Papyri decomposes quickly since it's plant-based. Our earliest manuscript fragment is P52, or Papyrus 52, and contains a portion of John 18 from around 120 to 150 AD. Parchment is a writing material made from untanned skins of animals, usually sheep, calves, or goats. A finer quality parchment made from the skins of young animals may be called vellum. A manuscript is literally a handwritten document. The printing press was not invented until 1440 in Germany by Johannes Gutenberg. Before that time, and for a long time afterwards, the written word was copied by hand. Because of that, two manuscripts copied from the exact same source are likely to not read exactly the same because humans make mistakes. Even the best paid professional scribes were prone to error. Often, you'll hear conversations about manuscript number such and such. There's a numbering system to track known New Testament manuscripts. When you hear those numbers, that's where they come from. A codex is an ancestor to the modern book. Multiple leaves of papyri or vellum would be bound together by stacking pages and then bound on one side like modern books. Later, wooden covers would be made to protect these books. Early Christian writings provide our earliest examples of codices. Some famous examples of a codex would be Codex Alexandrinus, Codex Sinaiticus, Codex Vaticanus, Codex Ephraemi Rescriptus, and Codex Washingtonianus. Now that we know what a manuscript is and what a codex is, we need to talk about Alexandrian and Byzantine texts. This is a misnomer or an inaccurate designation. Before I give you the correct terms and meanings, I need to address the mistake that is often made when discussing these terms.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Often, when someone is talking about Alexandrian and Byzantine texts, they're talking about where the manuscripts or the codices, that's the plural of codex, were from or where they were found. The argument goes something like this. Byzantine texts have their origin from around Antioch, but Antioch is farther away from Byzantium or Constantinople than it is from Alexandria, Egypt. It's actually closer to Alexandria from Antioch. The early church thrived at Antioch. Paul was sent out from Antioch. Antioch is good because Byzantine texts are good. And on the other hand, we have the Alexandrian texts discovered around Alexandria, Egypt. Now, Egypt is a type of the world, and nothing good ever came out of Egypt except Abraham, Moses, Israel, Jesus, and Apollos, just to name a few. The whole Antioch good, Alexandria bad is a horrible argument that simply doesn't jive with history. Athanasius of Alexandria faithfully defended the Trinity against Arius and his Arianism. Where did Arianism thrive? Around Antioch in Asia Minor. Where did the Trinitarian doctrine we hold to today thrive? Alexandria, Egypt. I think Abraham Lincoln said it best. Don't believe everything you read on the internet. These texts are not named based on where they're from. They're named based on their text type. The Alexandrian text type gives us our oldest and earliest manuscripts. They tend to be shorter in their readings. For example, Alexandrian text type manuscripts are more likely to not contain the long ending of the last chapter of Mark, or the story of the woman taken in adultery, John 7:53 through 8:11. This text type doesn't contain a number of verses such as Matthew 18:11 and Acts 8:37, along with several others. In these manuscripts, you see fewer words describing the Father or Jesus. For example, the Alexandrian text type will read, Our Father, where the Byzantine text type reads, Our Father in heaven, or Our Father which is in heaven. The Byzantine text type is found in the largest number of surviving manuscripts of the Greek New Testament. More than 80% of all surviving Greek manuscripts are this type, but most are from after the first millennium. They tend to be more wordy than the Alexandrian text type. The Byzantine text type manuscripts are often called the majority text or the ecclesiastical text. Majority text has one of two meanings. In most cases, majority text and Byzantine text will be used interchangeably. But the majority text within textual criticism means the majority of all manuscripts or the majority of all Byzantine manuscripts. The Textus Receptus is Latin for the received text. More on that in a bit. There were approximately 30 distinct editions of the Textus Receptus made over the years, beginning with a man by the name of Desiderius Erasmus. Here are the major editions. Erasmus had 5. Stephanus, or Robert Estienne, had 4. Theodore Beza had 5 major editions. And then the Elzevir brothers had 3 editions, their 1633 being their most famous. And then, of course, there's Scrivener's 1881 edition. Desiderius Erasmus was a Dutch humanist scholar and Roman Catholic priest who desired to improve on the Latin Vulgate. He created an improved Latin version of the New Testament by referring back to the Greek. He created a Latin and Greek diglot. He had Greek on the left-hand column, Latin on the right-hand column of the same page. Erasmus used 8 Greek manuscripts in creating his first edition in 1516. All of those he had in his hand at Basel, Switzerland, where he moved to during his work. 7 of those manuscripts had been brought from the east to Basel in 1432. He had only 1 manuscript that contained the book of Revelation, and that was 2814. All 8 of these manuscripts represented the Byzantine text type that we discussed earlier. He produced 5 editions of his Greek New Testament. And interestingly, it was not until his 3rd edition in 1522 that 1 John 5:7 was added with much controversy. After Erasmus died in 1536, his work was picked up by Robert Estienne, or Stephanus. Stephanus was John Calvin's printer in Geneva. He produced 4 major editions. Next, Stephanus' work was picked up by John Calvin's successor in Geneva, Beza. He produced 10 editions, 5 of them being major. Most of the King James translator's work seems to have been based largely off Beza's 1598 and Stephanus' 1550 editions. Even after the authorized version was produced, Greek New Testament printed editions continued to be made. In 1624, and then again in 1633 and 1641, the Elzevir brothers printed their copies of the Greek New Testament based on Beza's works. The text of the 1633 edition became known as the Textus Receptus because of an advertisement in a preface that said, "Therefore you have the text now received by all, in which we have given nothing altered or corrupt." In 1881, we have F.H.A. Scrivener's attempt to reproduce as exact as possible the Greek text which underlies the authorized version of 1611. Scrivener, in his reconstructed and edited text, used as his starting point Beza's edition of 1598. He identified the places where the English text had different readings from the Greek. He examined 18 editions of the Textus Receptus to find the correct Greek reading and made changes to his Greek text based on his findings. When he finished, he had produced an edition of the Greek New Testament which more closely underlies the text of the authorized version than any one edition of the Textus Receptus. The reason he did this is because the English Revised Version, published in 1881, had instructions to note every place where they deviated from the authorized version. Here are some key bullet points on the TR. There is no single TR. The first works of Erasmus were Latin and Greek diglots, both on the same page, and his primary focus was on the Latin. Erasmus only used 8 Greek manuscripts to create his first edition. Textus Receptus, or received text, is a marketing term used by the Elzevir brothers in their 1633 edition. And many King James onlyists believe Scrivener's 1881 Greek New Testament to be the perfect and final TR because it is reconstructed from the authorized version. The TR is an eclectic text, meaning that the translators had to make decisions in choosing their readings from various sources. The TR differs from the majority text over 1,800 times. The King James Version differs from the TR in almost 200 places. It's impossible to trace decisions and the readings chosen by the TR. Holding that the TR is perfect or better than the CT means that the readings were lost for 1,500 years of church history and only rediscovered, recompiled, or re-inspired in the 1500s. There is a 1.3% difference between Scrivener's TR and the majority text. The critical text was first published in 1881 and was the work of Westcott and Hort. These men were often criticized as denying the Bible because they believed the TR to be rife with errors. These men gave priority to early manuscripts such as Codex Vaticanus and Sinaiticus. Both of those are Alexandrian text types. Here are some key bullet points on the critical text. The critical text was first published in 1881 and was the work of Westcott and Hort. Westcott and Hort believed the TR to be rife with errors. Westcott and Hort gave priority to the early manuscripts, such as Vaticanus and Sinaiticus. They used reasoned eclecticism to make decisions just like the TR translators did. The modern CT makes use of more than 5,000 manuscripts and papyri fragments available today, where the first TR was based on only 8 manuscripts. The modern CT makes use of certain papyri dating back to within 30 to 50 years of the original writings. The modern CT considers Greek, Latin, Syriac, Coptic, Ethiopic, and other languages to determine the correct readings. We can trace the decisions of the critical text translators to see why specific readings were chosen in the critical apparatus of both Nestle Aland's and the United Bible Society's Greek New Testaments. There is only a 1.8% difference between the critical text and the majority text. Which one is best? That's for another video. Ultimately, I think the question really must be, what did Paul write? What did John write? What did Luke write? Those are the questions we should be asking. That should be our goal. Now, I hope this clears up some of the confusion about these terms. If you've got a question about something in this video, drop me a comment or a message, or send me a message on Facebook or Twitter, X. My contact info is in the description below. I'll see you next time.